The first time my roommate called me her boyfriend, I had a mouth full of mashed potatoes and her father was staring at me like he was deciding whether I deserved a handshake or a background check. To be fair, I had been warned the dinner might be a little intense. I had not been warned I was about to be promoted from guy who splits the Wi-Fi bill to future son-in-law. My name is Owen Miller. I was 29 then, working as a junior architect at a firm in Portland, living in a 2-bedroom apartment above a bakery that made our entire place smell like cinnamon every morning. I had a decent life if you counted reliable coffee, clean laundry, and a dating history so quiet my mother had started using the phrase, "when you're ready," like I was recovering from a shipwreck. My roommate, Claire Bennett, was 28, a nurse with a laugh that could make a bad day take one respectful step backward. She owned exactly too many houseplants, labeled leftovers like a prison warden, and sang off key in the kitchen when she thought I had headphones on. I had never told her I sometimes took one earbud out just to listen. That was the problem with Claire. She was easy to live with in all the dangerous ways. She remembered how I took my coffee. She knocked twice before entering a room. She once stayed up until 2 in the morning, helping me finish a presentation model. Her hair in a messy knot, glue on her thumb, wearing my old college sweatshirt because yours are softer and I'm emotionally vulnerable to cotton. I was attracted to her. Sure, I wasn't blind or dead. But we had rules. No dating roommates, no making the lease weird, no looking too long when she padded into the kitchen in fuzzy socks and said, "Don't perceive me before caffeine." So when she leaned against my doorframe on a Thursday afternoon and said, "I need a favor," I should have faked a medical emergency. Instead, I looked up from my laptop and said, "If this involves moving a couch, I've recently become spiritually opposed to furniture. It's dinner with furniture with my parents." I paused. That sounds worse. She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. Claire had a face people trusted immediately, which made it easy to miss the tiny signs when she was bracing herself. The way her fingers found the silver ring on her thumb, the way she tucked her hair behind her ear twice when once would do. "My sister's coming into town," she said. "My parents are doing the whole family dinner thing. I told them I might bring someone. You might bring someone, right? And I'm someone. You're very someone. That's the nicest thing anyone has ever said to me." She rolled her eyes, but there it was, the real smile, quick and bright. It landed somewhere under my ribs. I should have asked more questions. A mature man would have asked more questions. I chose instead to be a man who liked making Claire smile. "Why me?" I asked. Her gaze flicked away for half a second. "Because you're normal. That is demonstrably false. Because you're kind," she corrected softer. "And because when my mother corners you about your life plan, you won't panic and announce you're joining a monastery. I make no promises." She laughed, then took a step into my room without asking. That was how I knew something was really bothering her. Claire respected space like it was a constitutional amendment. She sat on the edge of my bed close enough that I caught the clean scent of her shampoo, something citrus and warm. "My ex will be there." The air changed. "Ryan?" I asked. She nodded. I knew only the outline. College boyfriend. Family adored him. He had a smile like a campaign poster and the emotional depth of a spoon. Claire never trashed him, which told me more than trashing him would have. "He's friends with my brother-in-law," she said. "Apparently he's in town, and my mother thinks it'll be nice if everyone catches up." "Nice?" I repeated. "She also thinks I should stop being picky." I closed my laptop, Claire noticed. Her eyes softened before she looked down. "I'm not asking you to lie." "Not really. Just come with me. Sit next to me. Make it less awful." There were 100 practical reasons to say no. Our apartment, our friendship, the careful little wall I'd built between what I wanted and what I allowed myself to want. But Claire was sitting on my bed, twisting that ring, and all I could think was that if her family had spent years making her feel difficult to love, I wanted to be the person beside her proving otherwise. "Okay," I said, her head lifted. "Okay, yeah, but if your mother asks my 5-year plan, I'm telling her I intend to become mysterious." Claire's shoulders dropped with relief. Then she reached over and squeezed my hand. It wasn't dramatic, just her fingers around mine for 2 seconds longer than necessary, long enough for both of us to notice. She let go first. "Thank you, Owen," she said, and her voice had lost its joke. That Saturday, she came out of her room wearing a green dress I had never seen before. I was in the kitchen trying to tie my tie without looking like I'd lost a fight with it. When I looked up, whatever joke I'd prepared disappeared. The dress was simple, knee-length, soft fabric, nothing flashy, but on Claire, it made the whole apartment seem underdressed. She stopped when she saw me staring. "What?" "Nothing." That was not a nothing face, it was an architect face. I was appreciating structure. She narrowed her eyes of the dress, among other things. The words slipped out before I could stop them. For one small second, Claire didn't move. Then color rose in her cheeks, and she walked over like she had decided not to let me escape my own sentence. "Your tie is crooked," she said. I was going for approachable. "You were going for strangled." She stepped close and took the tie in both hands. There are moments in life when your body has more honesty than your mouth. Mine went completely still. Claire's fingers brushed my collar, her knuckles grazing my throat as she loosened the knot and fixed it with practiced concentration. "You clean up well," she said, not looking at my eyes. "So do you." "I always clean up well." "You do?" I said. That made her look up. The apartment was quiet, except for traffic outside, and the bakery downstairs closing for the day. We were standing close enough that I could see the tiny gold flecks in her hazel eyes. Close enough that if either of us leaned in, the lease would become the least of our problems. Then her phone buzzed on the counter. She stepped back too quickly. "My mom," she said, reading the screen. Her smile vanished. She says, "Ryan is already there. I wanted to say something clever. I couldn't find it." Claire inhaled, squared her shoulders, and slipped her phone into her purse. "Ready?" "No," I said, "but I'm coming anyway." Her hand found mine by the door. This time she didn't let go in 2 seconds. At her parents' house, the windows glowed gold against the early evening. It was the kind of home that looked like people said grace before judging your career choices. Big porch, perfect wreath, 2 cars in the driveway that cost more than my student loans, and had better posture. Claire paused at the walkway. "You don't have to do this," she said. "I'm already wearing the tie." "That's your reason?" "No, you are." Her eyes searched my face, and for a second, the nervousness cracked open into something warmer. Something that made me wonder if maybe I hadn't been the only one pretending the apartment rules were enough. Then the front door swung open. A woman with Claire's eyes and a sharper smile called out, "There she is." Inside, the house smelled like roast chicken and expensive candles. Her mother hugged her first, then inspected me with cheerful precision. "And this must be Owen," she said. "Yes," Claire said. "Mom, this is Owen." Her father shook my hand. "Mark Bennett." "Owen Miller." "Nice to meet you, sir." Ryan stood near the fireplace in a navy sweater, holding a glass of red wine like he'd been born in an advertisement. He smiled at Claire with too much familiarity. "Claire," he said, "you look beautiful." Her hand tightened around mine. I felt it before I understood it. Every face in the room turned toward our joined hands. Her mother blinked. Ryan's smile sharpened. And Claire, my plant-collecting, leftover labeling, off-key singing roommate, lifted her chin like she was stepping off a cliff. "This is my boyfriend," she said. "Owen." There are sentences that rearrange a room. Fire. I'm pregnant. This is my boyfriend. Claire's version landed like silverware dropped on marble. Her mother's smile froze, then thawed into something delighted and dangerous. Boyfriend. Ryan took a sip of wine. Claire's father looked at our joined hands, then at me, as if my handshake had neglected to mention a major plot point. I could have corrected her. In fact, every sensible part of my brain formed the words, "Actually, we're roommates, and I'm here as emotional furniture." But Claw's thumb moved once across the back of my hand, not pleading, not demanding, asking. So I smiled at her mother and said, "It's nice to finally meet you." Claire's fingers tightened again, but this time it felt less like panic and more like a thank you she didn't dare say out loud. "Well," her mother said, recovering with Olympic speed, "this is a surprise." "A good one, I hope," I said. Claire shot me a look. It clearly meant you're enjoying this too much. My look back said, "You started it, girlfriend." Her father cleared his throat. "How long has this been going on?" Claire opened her mouth. I beat her to it long enough to know she steals the blanket during movies and pretends she doesn't. Claire turned pink. That was the first lie I told that night. Technically, we had watched movies together. Technically, she did steal the blanket. Technically, I had spent 2 hours pretending not to notice her shoulder pressed against mine. The boyfriend part was still under review. Her mother pressed both hands to her chest. "You two watch movies together?" "We live together, Mom," Claire said. The room went quiet again. Ryan coughed into his wine. I looked down at Claire. We were going to ease them into that part. Her mouth twitched. "You were?" I had a whole plan involving bread rolls and misdirection, and there it was, her laugh, small, startled, real. It loosened something in my chest. Dinner began with the intensity of a trial. Claire's sister, Megan, was openly fascinated. Her husband asked me about sports, which I handled by naming 3 teams and hoping none were fictional. "Mrs. Bennett asked questions in a tone so sweet it should have come with a dental warning. "So, Owen," she said, while passing carrots. "What do you do?" "I'm an architect." "An architect?" she repeated, approving a little despite herself. "How interesting. Mostly I draw bathrooms that other people make less expensive." Claire snorted into her water. Ryan smiled. "That firm downtown, right? Claire mentioned you once." "Once? I should not have been pleased by that. I was pleased enough to be embarrassed." "She mentions me," I asked Claire. "Don't look so proud," she said. "It was about the time you set off the smoke alarm making toast." "Artisanal smoke? Black bread? Owen bold bread?" Her father's mustache twitched. I chose to count it as a victory. For a while it worked. We became a team in the way people do when they're lying under pressure, improvising, catching each other's cues, building a relationship out of crumbs and old habits. Claire knew how I took coffee. I knew she hated mushrooms, but ate them if served because she had been raised to fear disappointing tableware. She brushed her knee against mine under the table, and every time my entire body remembered, she was not actually mine. Then Ryan leaned back in his chair. "So how did it happen?" he asked. Claire stilled. "How did what happen?" Megan asked, delighted. Ryan's eyes stayed on Claire. "The romance, roommates to lovers. Sounds like a movie." I felt Claire withdraw without moving. Her smile remained, but something behind it went careful. I hated him a little for knowing exactly where to press. I put my fork down slowly. Everyone looked at me. I turned toward Claire because if I was going to lie, I wanted at least part of it to be true. "It happens slowly," I said. I noticed little things first. That she talks to plants like they're difficult co-workers. That she pretends she doesn't like the corner brownie even though she always reaches for it. That when she comes home from a hard shift, she checks on everyone else before herself. Claire's eyes widened. My pulse did something stupid, and then one day, I continued quieter. I realized the best part of my day was hearing her key in the door. The table had gone silent. Claire was looking at me like I had taken the lie and turned it into something she didn't know how to hold. Maybe I had. Ryan's smile had disappeared. Mrs. Bennett dabbed at the corner of her eye. "That is very sweet. It's also not how it happened," Claire said. My stomach dropped. Then she reached over and took my hand again, folding our fingers together on top of the table for everyone to see. "He's leaving out the part where I fell first." My heart stopped behaving altogether. She looked at me, not at them. "Because he is ridiculous and kind. because he buys the good coffee even when he says he can't tell the difference, because he listens when people talk, actually listens, and because he makes me feel like I don't have to perform being okay. The lie had vanished from her voice, or maybe I had lost the ability to tell. Under the table, my knee touched hers. This time, neither of us moved away. After dinner, I escaped to the kitchen with a stack of plates and the desperate need to breathe. Claire followed me. The second the swinging door closed behind her, she whispered, "I am so sorry. I set the plates by the sink for making me your boyfriend without a formal application process. I panicked. I gathered. I saw Ryan. My mom was doing that face. Everyone was waiting for me to be embarrassed about being single. And then your hand was there, and I just—" She pressed her fingers to her forehead. "I'm sorry." I turned to face her. The kitchen was warm, fragrant with garlic and lemon. From the dining room came muffled voices and Megan laughing too loudly at something. Claire looked smaller here away from the performance. Not weak, never that. Just tired of being measured. "I'm not mad. I said you should be. I'm a little curious about our anniversary." Despite herself, she smiled. "June, too vague. We deserve a holiday." "Owen." I stepped closer. Not enough to trap her enough that she had to tilt her chin up. "Claire, look at me." She did. My voice came out lower than I expected. I said those things because I meant them. Her smile faded. "I know tonight is pretend," I said. "I know why you said it, but what I said about you, that wasn't fake." For a moment she didn't breathe. Then she whispered, "Mine wasn't either." The kitchen shrank around us. Her fingers were still curled at her temple. Slowly I reached up and touched her wrist, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. I lowered her hand between us and she let me hold it. There was no audience now. No Ryan, no mother with bright eyes. Just Claire and me beside the sink, holding hands like it was both a secret and an answer. "Your family thinks we're dating," I said. "Yes, your ex thinks we're dating." Unfortunately, I brushed my thumb over her knuckles. "What do you think?" Her gaze dropped to my mouth. It was quick, barely there. It ruined me. "I think," she said softly, "that if we talk about this here, I might do something unwise. Define unwise." The kitchen door swung open. Megan stood there holding an empty wine glass and wearing the expression of a woman who had just walked into chapter 1 of a scandalous novel. "Oh," she said. "Sorry, I was looking for the core crew, but I see you two are busy emotionally undressing each other." Claire yanked her hand from mine. "Megan, what? I'm supportive." Megan opened a drawer, found nothing, then pointed her glass at me. "For the record, Owen, I like you better than Ryan. He has yacht shoe energy." "I appreciate the endorsement," I said. Claire covered her face. Megan disappeared again, calling, "Mom wants dessert in 5. The door swung shut. Claire and I stared at each other. Then we both laughed. Not polite dinner laughter, not nervous laughter. Real laughter that bent us toward each other until her shoulder bumped my chest and my hand found her waist without thinking. She looked up. The laughter faded. My palm was at the curve of her waist. Her hand rested lightly against my tie, the one she had fixed in our kitchen. "Oh, we should go back," she said. "Oh, we should." Neither of us moved. Then from the dining room, Ryan's voice carried clearly. "So, does Owen know about Boston?" Claire went completely still beneath my hand. I didn't ask what Boston was. Not then. Because her face had gone pale and whatever waited in that room had already taken enough from the moment between us. I leaned closer, my mouth near her ear, and said, "We go back together." Claire swallowed. Then she looked at me, not helpless, not hiding, choosing together, she said. We walked back into the dining room holding hands, not because the audience required it, because Claire reached for me first. That detail mattered. It mattered so much I forgot for half a second that Ryan had just dropped the word Boston like a match into dry grass. Claire's mother was standing beside the dessert tray, face pinched with curiosity. Megan had gone very still. Mr. Bennet looked annoyed in the way fathers do when they sense a conversation has left the road but don't know who's driving. Ryan smiled at me. I was just saying Claire never mentioned whether she told you about Boston. Claire's hand tightened. I kept my voice mild. She tells me things when she wants to. That landed better than I expected. Claire looked at me, and some of the tension eased from her mouth. Ryan's smile thinned. Of course, her mother frowned. Claire, sweetheart, I thought Boston was settled. It is, Claire said. What's in Boston? I asked, because apparently I enjoyed walking into emotional traffic. A job? Claire said before anyone else could answer. A hospital there offered me a position last year. Last year? We had been roommates last year. I remembered her pacing the balcony in December, phone pressed to her ear. I remembered her saying it was nothing important when I asked. It was a great opportunity. Her mother said specialized pediatrics, better salary. Ryan had connections there too. Mom, Claire said. Ryan lifted his hands. I'm not saying anything. You rarely need to, she replied. I liked her so much in that moment, it almost hurt. Mrs. Bennet set down the cake knife. We only wanted what was best for you. No, Claire said, quiet but clear. You wanted what looked best. The room froze. Claire's thumb moved against mine again. But this time, it wasn't asking me to save her. It was anchoring herself. I didn't take Boston because I didn't want Boston, she said. I wanted my job here, my patients here, my life here. Her eyes flicked to me. My heart made one terrible, hopeful leap. And I was tired, she continued, of making decisions that sounded impressive to everyone except me. Nobody spoke. Then Megan raised her wine glass. Honestly, iconic. Megan, her mother hissed. What? She's right. Ryan stood. I think I should go. For once, nobody argued. There were awkward goodbyes. A stiff hug from Mrs. Bennet to Ryan, a handshake between Ryan and Mr. Bennet that looked like two men agreeing not to sue each other. Then Ryan paused near Claire. If you're happy, he said, I'm glad. Claire didn't flinch. I am. His eyes shifted to me. I didn't glare. I didn't puff up. I simply kept holding the hand of the woman who had chosen to stay. And somehow that felt like the most honest thing I'd done all night. After he left, dessert tasted mostly like silence and buttercream. We didn't stay long. At the door, Mrs. Bennet hugged Claire too tightly. I just worry about you. I know, Claire said. Her mother looked at me over Claire's shoulder. Take care of her. Claire pulled back before I could answer. Mom, I take care of myself. Then, after a beat, she glanced at me. He just makes it nicer. I had no defense against that. Outside, the air was cold and smelled like rain. We made it halfway down the walkway before Claire stopped under the porch light. I lied to you, she said. You told them I was your boyfriend. We've established your relationship with accuracy is currently flexible. She didn't smile, so I stopped joking. Boston, she said. I should have told you. You didn't owe me that, I know. She wrapped her arms around herself, but I wanted to. That was the problem. The porch light gilded her hair in the dark. Her green dress looked almost black, and her bare shoulders made me want to take off my jacket, and also not be cliché about taking off my jacket. I did it anyway. She glanced at me as I draped it over her shoulders. Very boyfriend of you. I'm committed to the role. Owen Claire. A car passed, headlights sweeping across us and then leaving. She looked down at the sleeves covering her hands. I didn't tell you because I was afraid you'd say I should go. I might have. I know you're annoyingly decent. I'm sorry for my burden. And if you said I should go, I would have had to pretend that didn't hurt. My chest tightened. She looked up at me then, and the vulnerability on her face was so naked, I almost looked away out of respect. I didn't want to leave our apartment, she said. I didn't want to leave morning coffee or your terrible architectural documentaries or the way you always save me the last cinnamon roll, and pretend you forgot it existed. I do forget things. You remember grout samples from 2019, important grout. Her laugh trembled, then faded. I didn't know what it meant, she whispered, wanting to stay because of you. I stepped closer. Do you know now? Her eyes searched mine. Do you? There it was. The edge we'd been walking since the kitchen, since the tie, maybe since the night she fell asleep on the couch with her feet in my lap, and I spent 20 minutes afraid to move. I know I didn't want to be your fake boyfriend tonight, I said. Her face fell a little. I caught her hand before she could retreat. I wanted to be your real one. Claire went still. Rain began, soft at first, ticking against the porch roof behind us. I've wanted that longer than is convenient, I admitted. I told myself it was friendship, then respect, then lease preservation. That got the smallest smile. But tonight, when you said I was your boyfriend, I didn't feel trapped. I swallowed. I felt chosen, and I wanted it to be true. Her fingers curled around mine. You're not saying this because of Ryan? She asked. No. Or because my family put us through emotional dodgeball? No. Or because I look incredible in this dress? I looked her over before I could help it, slowly enough to make her cheeks warm. That, I said, is a contributing factor, not the thesis. She laughed, and then she was closer, her hand at my chest, my jacket slipping off one shoulder. Owen, yeah, if you don't kiss me, I'm going to have to update my opinion of your courage. I had imagined kissing Claire in irresponsible detail. None of those imaginings included her parents' porch, rain, or the distant possibility of Megan watching from a window. It was still better. I touched her face first because I needed one last chance for either of us to stop. She didn't. She leaned into my palm, eyes half-lidded, and that tiny surrender undid me. Then I kissed her softly at first. Claire made a small sound, surprised, relieved, wanting, and stepped into me. Her hand slid up my tie, pulling me closer. The kiss deepened, warm and sure, years of not saying compressed into one breathless answer. When we broke apart, her forehead rested against mine. Well, she whispered. Yeah, that complicates the lease. I'm willing to renegotiate terms. She smiled against my mouth. Addendum 1, more kissing? Approved. Addendum 2, you admit the cinnamon roll thing. Never. She kissed me again, quick and bright, like punctuation. Then the porch light flickered as the front door opened. Megan's voice floated out. I knew it. Mom, you owe me $20. Claire buried her face in my chest. I laughed so hard she had to hold on to me. For the first time all night, nothing felt fake. The drive home was 20 minutes. It took us 45. Not because of traffic, because Claire kept looking at me like I was a sentence she wanted to reread. And I kept missing turns. You just passed our street, she said. I'm aware. You're aware, and continuing. I'm giving us time to process. You're lost. I'm architecturally exploring. She laughed, curled in the passenger seat with my jacket still around her shoulders, rain streaking the windows behind her. Her lipstick was a little blurred from kissing me on her parents' porch. I was trying very hard not to feel proud of that. At a red light, she reached across the console and took my hand. Such a simple thing, fingers lacing through mine, but it made the whole night shift from unbelievable to real. Are you panicking? She asked internally with structure and dignity. About us? I looked at her a little. Her thumb brushed my knuckle. Me too. That should have scared me more. Instead, it made me feel like we were standing on the same ledge, looking down, laughing nervously, not quite ready to step back. When we finally got home, the apartment smelled faintly of cinnamon from the bakery below. Familiar, safe, different. Claire stood in the entryway in her green dress and my oversized jacket, while I hung up my keys with the exaggerated care of a man afraid sudden movements might end the spell. So she said, So we kissed. We did twice. 3 times if we count the one Megan interrupted. I am absolutely counting that. I fought for that kiss. I smiled. You did challenge my courage, and you rose to the occasion. I'm glad my performance met expectations. Her eyes dropped to my mouth. Exceeded. The air warmed. I took 1 step toward her, then stopped. Claire. Yeah, I want to kiss you again. Her expression softened in a way that made the room tilt. But I said, because apparently I had chosen this exact moment to become responsible. We live together, and I don't want tonight to turn into something we don't know how to handle tomorrow. She studied me. You're asking to slow down. I'm asking not to rush just because I finally know what you taste like. Her cheeks went pink. That was unfairly effective wording. I'm suffering too. Claire slipped my jacket off and hung it over the back of a chair. Then she walked toward me close enough that my heart started filing complaints. I don't want to rush either, she said, but I also don't want us to pretend this didn't happen because we're scared. No pretending, I said. Good. She lifted a hand and straightened my already straight tie, just like before dinner. Only now her fingers lingered, sliding down the silk until they rested against my chest. Then here's my proposal, she said. Tomorrow you take me on a real date. I swallowed. A date? Yes. No parents, no Ryan, no fake anniversary, just you and me trying to be normal about the fact that we've been emotionally married for 6 months. Emotionally married. You bought me a humidifier when I had bronchitis and read the instruction manual. It had settings. You named my fern when I was sad. Fernando needed identity, and you once told a delivery guy I was asleep because I didn't want to answer the door. That's basically a vow. She smiled. See? I leaned down until our foreheads touched. Tomorrow, real date. Her breath caught, but she didn't pull away. And tonight. Tonight I say goodnight like a gentleman. How disappointing. Deeply tragic. Even historic. She laughed softly, then rose on her toes and kissed my cheek. Not my mouth. My cheek. Somehow it was worse. More intimate, almost. Tender in a way that promised patience. Good night, boyfriend, she whispered. I closed my eyes. You cannot just say that and walk away. But she did, smiling over her shoulder as she disappeared into her bedroom. I slept terribly. The next morning I found her in the kitchen wearing flannel pajama pants, a tank top, and the expression of a woman who had been awake for a while thinking too much. Morning, I said. She handed me coffee. It was made exactly how I liked it. Morning, she said. We stood on opposite sides of the counter, both of us pretending not to notice that we were smiling like idiots. Then she said, I have concerns. I set down my mug. Okay, I don't want to become a story where we kiss, try dating, fail horribly, and then one of us has to move out, and the other gets custody of the toaster. I would fight for the toaster. It browns evenly. I know. Her smile flickered, then faded. I'm serious. I know. I came around the counter, but stopped a few feet away, letting her choose whether to close the distance. She did. I'm scared too, I said. But not of dating you. I'm scared of doing it badly, of losing what we already have, because I want more. Her gaze softened. And I do want more, I added. I'm not confused about that. Claire's fingers found the hem of my t-shirt. I want more too. There it was again. No performance, no fake label, a choice. I touched her waist lightly. Then we go carefully. Rules, probably. She nodded gravely. No kissing during arguments, just to win. That was on your list because you plan to use it. I'm charming under pressure. No pretending we're fine when we're not, I said. She nodded. No sacrificing the friendship to protect the romance. Meaning we still tell each other weird stuff. We still complain about dishes. We still sit on the couch in ugly socks. Your socks are ugly. Mine are whimsical. Your socks have raccoons eating pizza. Whimsical. She laughed and leaned into me. wrapping her arms around my middle. I held her. It was the first time all morning we were quiet, and it felt better than any plan. Her cheek rested against my chest. My hand moved over her back in slow circles. She fit against me with such alarming ease that I had to remind myself this was new, except it wasn't. Not really. That afternoon I took her on our first date to the Saturday market by the river. It was ridiculous how nervous I was. I had seen this woman half asleep, feverish, furious at a broken vacuum, and once wearing a sheet mask that made her look like a haunted porcelain doll. Still, when she came out in jeans and a soft blue sweater, I forgot how pockets worked. She noticed architect face, structural appreciation of the sweater, among other things. She grinned. Good callback. We walked between stalls selling flowers, pottery, and tiny jars of honey. I bought her a paper cup of hot cider. She bought me a pin shaped like a disgruntled cat and said it matched my resting spreadsheet face. At a booth full of handmade jewelry, she tried on a thin silver bracelet. It looked delicate against her wrist. Pretty, I said. She put it back immediately. Too much. So I waited until she was distracted by a table of used books and bought it. When I fastened it around her wrist near the river, she stared at me. Owen, first date tax. You can't buy me jewelry on a first date. I checked. No police. Her eyes shimmered with something dangerously close to tears. It's too sweet. Do you hate it? No. Then accept my illegal bracelet. She laughed, but her voice was soft. Thank you. Then she kissed me there in public beside the gray river, and a man playing violin badly enough to make pigeons reconsider music. It wasn't a porch kiss. It wasn't urgent or startled. It was a first date kiss. Chosen, unhurried. Her hand slid into my coat. Mine cupped her jaw. The world narrowed to cider on her lips, and the cold tip of her nose brushing mine when she smiled. I'm having a good date, she whispered. I'm a strong candidate for second date. Don't get cocky. I bought jewelry. I'm invested. She leaned her head on my shoulder as we watched the water. For the first time, I let myself imagine it openly. Claire at breakfast, Claire stealing blankets, Claire not as the almost I lived beside, but as the woman I got to love on purpose. Then her phone buzzed. She checked it, and her smile faltered. My mom wants brunch tomorrow, she said. With you? With us? I waited. Claire looked at the bracelet, then at me. She says she wants to apologize. That could have been a new storm. Instead, Claire tucked herself closer under my arm. Do we go? I asked. She looked up at me. Only if you want to. Not as cover, not as a shield. I kissed her forehead. I'll go because I'm your boyfriend. Her smile returned slow and real. Real boyfriend, she said. The very inconvenient kind. The best kind, she said, and took my hand. Brunch at Claire's parents' house felt different in daylight, less like a courtroom, more like a place where people had once loved each other badly and were trying awkwardly to do better. Claire wore the bracelet I'd bought her at the market. I noticed because I had become the kind of man who noticed her wrist now, her hand in mine, her thumb brushing the silver band when she was nervous. The small smile she gave me when she caught me looking. Stop staring, she whispered as we walked up the porch steps. I'm admiring my illegal jewelry. You're admiring yourself for buying it. I contain multitudes. She laughed, and when her mother opened the docker, Claire didn't drop my hand. That mattered too. Mrs. Bennet looked smaller without the dinner party armor. No sharp smile, no perfect hostess glow. Just a woman in a cream cardigan holding a mug of coffee with both hands. Hi, sweetheart, she said. Hi, Mom. Her eyes moved to me. Owen, thank you for coming. Thanks for inviting me. There was a second where nobody knew what to do. Then Megan appeared behind her mother, wearing sunglasses indoors and holding a mimosa. Oh, good, she said. The emotionally competent couple is here. Maybe they can teach the rest of us, Claire's father muttered. It's too early for this. It is 11, Megan said. Exactly. The tension broke. We ate quiche and fruit salad around the kitchen table. No, Ryan, no performance. Just Claire sitting beside me, her knee occasionally bumping mine like a secret hello. Halfway through, Mrs. Bennet set down her fork. "Claire," she said, voice careful, "I owe you an apology." Claire went still. I kept my hand resting open on my thigh, not reaching for her unless she wanted me to. She did. Her fingers slipped into mine under the table. Mrs. Bennet's eyes flicked down, saw it, and softened. "I pushed too hard," she said. "About Boston, about Ryan, about what I thought your life should look like. I told myself it was because I wanted you to be happy, but I think she swallowed. I think I wanted to stop worrying by arranging everything into a shape I understood." Claire's grip tightened. "I'm sorry," her mother said. "You are not difficult to love. I'm sorry if I ever made you feel that way." Claire looked down. For a moment all I could hear was the clock on the wall and Megan sniffling aggressively into a napkin. Then Claire said, "Thank you." Her voice was thin but steady. "And for the record," Mrs. Bennet added, glancing at me, "I like this shape better." Megan lifted her glass to Owen's shape. "Megan," 3 people said at once. I nearly choked on orange juice. Claire leaned into my shoulder, shaking with silent laughter, and I kissed the top of her head because I could. Because she was mine, in the way a person can be yours only when they keep choosing to stay. After brunch, her father cornered me in the backyard. I expected the shovel talk. Instead, he handed me a rake. "Leaves," he said. Manual labor as interrogation." He gave me a look. "You always narrate only when afraid." His mouth twitched. We rat in silence for 3 minutes before he said, "She seems happy." I looked that through the window. Claire was in the kitchen with her mother and Megan laughing at something, sunlight catching on the bracelet at her wrist. "She makes me happy," I said. "That wasn't what I asked." "I know." He studied me, then nodded once. "Good answer." From inside, Claire looked out and caught me watching her. She smiled like she knew exactly where my heart had gone and had decided to keep it somewhere safe. I smiled back. A year after that night, we still lived above the bakery. For 6 months, we kept both bedrooms because we were cautious and mature, and also because Claire claimed my closet organization was a cry for help. Then one rainy weekend, we rearranged the whole apartment. Her plants moved into my room, my drafting table moved into hers. Our books mixed on the shelves with no regard for genre or emotional preparedness. We kept the second bedroom as an office, though Claire called it the room where your tiny building models go to feel important. I called it our West Wing. She called me insufferable. Then she kissed me against the doorframe, so I didn't file a complaint. By the following spring, we had our own rituals. Saturday market dates when we bought cider and pretended not to judge the bad violinist. Movie nights where she stole the blanket and I let her because being right was less important than having her feet tucked under my leg. Coffee every morning, hers with too much oat milk, mine exactly the way she made it before I remembered to ask. And once a month dinner with her family where her mother no longer asked about 5-year plans and Megan still introduced me as the fake boyfriend who unionized. Ryan became a footnote. Boston became a word Claire could say without shrinking. And me, I stopped pretending that wanting more was the same as risking everything. One evening in June, almost exactly a year after Claire had invented our relationship in front of a roast chicken, I came home to find her on the balcony with Fernando the Fern, 2 glasses of wine, and a suspiciously nervous expression. "Should I be worried?" I asked. "That depends on whether you're still spiritually opposed to furniture." I looked past her. There, squeezed into the corner of our tiny balcony, was a small wooden bench. New, beautiful, exactly the kind I had once sketched on a napkin and forgotten about. "You made this?" I asked. "With help from your dad and 3 online tutorials narrated by men who fear emotion." I ran my hand over the smooth armrest. "Claire," she bit her lip. "I wanted us to have somewhere to sit outside together without using the folding chair that tries to murder guests." I turned toward her. The sun was setting behind the rooftops, turning the bakery windows gold. Her hair moved in the warm breeze. The bracelet still circled her wrist, bright against her skin. "You built us a bench," I said. "I did." "That's very girlfriend of you." She stepped closer. "Good thing I got promoted." 2. She pulled a key from her pocket. Not a new apartment key, ours, but on the ring was a tiny metal charm shaped like a house. "Too permanent," she said softly. "If you want." My throat tightened. I thought about the night she'd stood in front of her family and called me her boyfriend before either of us was brave enough to say we wanted it. I thought about every almost that had led us here. Then I took the key ring, kissed her palm, and said, "Claire Bennett, I have been permanent since the first time you stole my sweatshirt and blamed emotional cotton." Her eyes filled. "You're ridiculous," she whispered. "You're home," I said. She kissed me then, smiling and crying a little, her hands in my hair, my arms around her waist. Behind us the city hummed. Below us the bakery ovens warmed for morning. Beside us Fernando leaned dramatically in the breeze, and on the little bench she built for us we sat tangled together until the sky went dark, no longer pretending, no longer almost just two people who had accidentally told the truth before they knew how to say it. What would you have done if your roommate invited you to family dinner and then suddenly introduced you as their boyfriend? Have you ever experienced anything even close to that? Fake dating, surprise labels, or feelings for someone you lived with? Tell me your story in the comments. If you like this one, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next.